Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to episode 117 of the Strip Poker Night of the Inventory podcast. Boy, isn't it crazy how Eminem died? Yeah. I mean, that's why you got to dispose of batteries properly. Oh, and that new meme that came out of China, too. It's pretty out there. I didn't know horses could bend that way. We record these in advance, so I've decided to line this up with what the news will be the week it comes out. Look forward to that.
Which Eminem died, the yellow one or the red one?
That's Nord, my co-host. I'm the host, spnanon, Horsecat.
I am also here.
You have also seen the future.
Yes. And I hate it. I want to go back.
I've seen the future, and it is murder. But yeah, Horsecat is our guest for this evening, and I have indeed seen the future. I predict that this entire agenda will be characters he is either completely responsible for, or is at least responsible for recently updating their art, or adopting their art in some aspects. We've had Just Kidding. This is going to be Just Horsecat. And if anyone has earned it, he's definitely up there in terms of long-term contribution to SPNatI and overall quality of work as well. We always love to see what he puts out, especially art-wise. He makes some great poses, some great models that we've all taken after. But yeah, we're going to get right into it, starting with his main focus, which has been the characters of Puyo Puyo, the puzzle game, now published by Sega. Previously, in the old days, Mado Monogatari, now Puyo Puyo, featuring Ringo and Arle, sort of dual. I guess Arle's not a schoolgirl; she's more of an adventurer who kind of travels to different worlds. You can explain a little bit more about what's going on there. These are not new characters, but both of them have received very similar art updates. They have. I kind of mentally group them together. You know, they're friends. They have very similar body types and kind of personalities. And you've sort of given them the same facelift here in terms of the model update. You've implemented very similar changes and improvements. So I'll let you go ahead and speak about, we can kind of talk about both of them kind of back and forth. Because again, what's going on here is very similar. But yeah, you know the intimate details about what exactly you implemented for both of them. So go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the main thing that the main thing that started the whole thing was trying to take advantage of the face masks that you can now attach to the pupils in Kisekai, which I used to give them custom pupils that look way closer to the source material, to how they look in the games.
Sure, her eyes are different. I didn't even notice. Yeah, they're darker.
That was like the main thing that started it all. I started with just that, and I said, okay, if I'm gonna be doing a whole new set of models just for the eyes, I might as well start touching up some other stuff to make it a bit more worth it. So Arl got a little bit less changes. Ringo had a lot more stuff going on, but a lot of it is behind the scenes stuff. Because the previous model for Ringo used to be two models, one for the body itself and one for the arms. Because back when I did the original model for her, you couldn't have... we didn't have the arm sliders we have now, where you can customize the length of each part of the arm and all that. So she ended up having these really long arms that pretty much went all the way down to the knees. So I had to leave her armless and then have the second model be just arms. That it was a little bit of a pain to pose. So the other thing I started doing there was just making it be one model on this change, on this, update. Then I started tweaking the, body shape a little bit. And why not, if I was already down there, why not start doing a little bit more custom poses? I changed her underwear from looking I never really ended up being fully convinced with the original underwear, for example. I felt it looked a little bit too swimsuit-y, bikini bottom-ish type thing. So I ended up making a new set of underwear fully custom, and I think that looks a lot better now. Then as I went up, I ended up doing more and more custom stuff. The new shoes are all fully custom. The new skirt is all fully custom. The new vest is all fully custom. The new sleeves are fully custom. Pretty much all of the clothes are now just made with ribbons and stuff. And besides the eye stuff, I didn't change too much in the head, but that I think was already pretty alright. I don't think I changed anything too substantial apart of that with Ringo. Oh yeah, some body detailing actually, like changing the default knees to slightly custom ones and the collarbones, little things to make it even less Kisekai default-ish.
I forgot to mention this in the last episode with Jim Raynor, but I do appreciate that custom collarbones are becoming a lot more common. For male characters, you generally want to make them look more substantial. I don't know how else to say it. Where you want them to look like it's a more rigid and solid collarbone, whereas with feminine characters, you're able to make them look softer. The default lines are quite high up on the chest, sort of under the neck shadow, but really for a lot of characters it looks a lot better when it's under the neck. You know, where it should be. Sorry for the interjection there.
Oh, no problem.
But just since you'd mentioned it as well.
Default Kisekai proportions can definitely be a little whack. But I know you posted sort of like the changes that you were workshopping a while back in the server looking for feedback. And people threw a lot of different stuff out there. I know I was among them in the peanut gallery throwing out ideas. I do think they came out quite nice, but was there anything that you still kind of weren't sure about, or was like the process of updating them, did that take a while, or how'd that go?
Well, for the final product itself, I'm actually pretty happy with it came out. If I end up posting something in the server, it's usually because I know something is not quite clicking right in my mind, so I'm looking for other people's opinions to see if they can help me find what that thing is. And it has definitely helped. Every time I go there, I end up coming up with a product that I feel a lot more confident on. As for the process of the model itself, well, it was fusing two models and pretty much just remaking them from scratch, so that did take a little bit. It was a project that I ended up doing for a little bit of time, as it usually tends to be, but it wasn't particularly worse than anything other else in the past. So what I'm trying to say, it wasn't a bad experience trying to do it. Then after that was done, I also had to do the Puyo Puyo Tetris, how you call it, alternate skin as well, and that one went quite quickly because at that point I didn't have to remake the whole model. I just had to change a couple of things.
Is that it for all the alt skins you had to update? Did you touch like the classic looks or anything?
No, Ringo has, I believe the only alt I have gotten her so far has been the Halloween one, the Poison Ringo one. That one still has the old model. That one I'm gonna have to, how you call it, update by the time Halloween comes in, because I believe she starts using like the default naked poses when she's naked, so it's gonna be a little bit jarring to see the old model for the first phases, and then suddenly she's with the new model on the last stages. I'm gonna have to make sure that I do that before Halloween, or I'm gonna have to put her offline for that if I cannot make it in time, which would be a shame. Because
you have time still.
Sorry?
You have time still.
Yeah, a little bit of time.
And what about...
Because I especially want to give another Halloween costume for her partner, Arle, as well, to go along with her.
Ooh. What about Ringo's epilogue?
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot. I did change the sprites in the epilogue as well. I ended up adding a couple little extra things in the epilogue, a couple of scenes that I deleted originally because I just wanted to get the epilogue out of the door first, and then I could build on it. And then some of the custom drawn sprites I've been, tweaking and trying to improve as time. Nothing too huge, but little changes that hopefully make it look even better.
Nord, what did you think of these two?
I think it's hard to articulate just because they're both just straight up improvements, straight upgrades. It's really difficult to see anything different in the early stages, even though I'm looking at the history of the files on Git to get these comparisons. And for the early stages, I see the images were changed, but nothing's really changed, aside from like very minor pose adjustments. I do notice that as time has gone on, you've gone back to Ringo in particular and started making more use of custom hands for some of her poses. So it's neat to see you getting better and better over time. Ringo in particular is always really fun to play with. I look forward to always seeing her epilogue if I'm sort of in the mood to go through an epilogue as well. I already mentioned the stuff about necklines, which I had actually noted under Arle, because I noticed it was one of the things that I don't really know what it is, but it helps tie together Arle in particular a lot better. All the adjustments you've done help with her like proportions and everything as well, even if it's quite subtle.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to do with Arle when I did her upgrading specifically was give her a little bit more bust. She tends to be flat in the current Sega incarnation of the character, but back in the original compile days, she actually had a little bit of a bust. So I don't want
It was
her
the style
to be,
at the time.
yeah, I guess. So I don't want her to be as flat as Ringo was, so I increased her chest size a little bit. I think she's still tagged as small, which I don't know if she should still be as such. I think I try to aim for medium-sized breast, but I don't know. I guess that's up for the community to decide. But yeah, aside from the chest, pretty much the same changes happened. The custom collarbones, the custom knees, the custom underwear. As for the clothing, I don't think I changed anything with Arle. So that's why she looks pretty much the same in the early stages, because aside from the little breast change, pretty much the rest is the same. She was a faster rework than Ringo. And in case of Arle, since the classic style is a completely different art style, I have actually not touched that one. So that one's still technically the old model.
Anything else, Nord?
No, I unfortunately don't really have much to say, just because as I said, it's just straight up upgrades, and they were
good to begin with.
They were good to begin with, yeah, that's the thing. But you're definitely getting better over time, and in the new character we'll talk about in a little bit, that's very apparent with how well she's turned out.
Yeah, this is definitely not as dramatic as something like Jim, or someone like Jim who we discussed last time. But neither Arle nor Ringo were really in need of that. They already looked quite good, and this, especially, with their clothes off, because with their clothes on, the changes are not super apparent, as I've said. But with it off, all the little extra detailing comes together quite nicely and kind of emphasizes in a more elegant way, I guess you could say, the aesthetic they're going for, very, very tight and perky. I think the poses seem basically untouched. I don't think you really changed them for the most part. I mean, they're still good, but they did feel familiar.
Yeah, no.
And overall, just the two of them, there's just a very similar aesthetics and very similar improvements going on. Let's see. You really extended and emphasized their waistlines as well, especially with Ringo. She didn't have that going on before. but adding that depth around the waist really sells it. And they have it's much more clear that you're going for like a narrow chest, narrow waist with them.
That was part of the feedback I got in the community server, and I really appreciate it because I do agree that it works a lot better that way.
So honestly, like adding that little detailing around the waist, that's one of the biggest and easiest things you can do to make a model look like it's got way more going on. Very underrated. But yeah, you're well past the point of needing like anything in Kisekai to use as like a crutch. You can, whatever you need to make happen, you can definitely do. I wrote a couple of things down about the writing, not much, just revisiting them as you do. They could use an independent proofread, just because I pointed out so many missing commas and things. I really drowned their bug report channels. They didn't seem to have like particularly high priority with each other, like with targets talking to each other. Which they don't necessarily have to. I was just curious if they would, because I did put them together for I think the first time. There were some nice references to like the way their source materials genre progressed from like dungeon crawlers to puzzle games, and that was mostly with Arle. There was some funny stuff there when they talked about like streaks and chains. That makes a lot of sense in context for them and for the game, because you could like lose multiple times in a row in SPNatI, that kind of thing, and make the other characters suffer as a result. And overall, like I do kind of group them together. They do feel kind of similar in writing and in art and posing and aesthetics and the improvements you saw here. But I mean, they're both really solid and worth checking out. Even more so now. Is that going to do it for Arle and Ringo?
I would say so for me.
Yeah, I believe so. Oh yeah, I guess something else I did change is I did like custom pubes as well for Ringo. I had to manually draw that one instead of having like the default Kisekai one. Also, another thing I started experimenting with these ones was giving them a little bit of a redness around the crotch area after they done their forfeits,
Nice
to kind of
touch.
indicate a little bit of the excitement going on.
That's good
And
stuff.
that's been a thing I've been starting to do with the models. I don't know if I did it with the Sunset. I think she created that. No, I think she did. I did it with her as well on the previous episode.
It's a nice touch that I wish was a default Kisekai setting, kind of like adding sweat. Second I saw a character sweat during the forfeit, I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. Why didn't I add that? But yeah. Anyway, Horsecat, you're not off the hot seat. You won't be for this entire episode. Although technically you could say it's Chiaki who's actually on the hot seat. This was a masquerade character that you contributed to. And I'm going to come out and say it. Chiaki, just as a project, is pretty cursed as a character. She has maybe gone through more models than any other character, and maybe more owners as well. She's been passed around by so many different men. She's been in the game for so long. I'm not sure how long, but I think before I even came on in late 2017, I think she was around in some form or another. And then like Joe took her over and gave her a new model, and then like gave her another new model, and then she sat there for years and not being touched, and then she was going to be reworked for this masquerade, and then like Ace got booted out, and Nicole is inactive, and she unfortunately looked like she was going to be doomed again. And there was the whole controversy surrounding her being a little too heavy set for some people's taste as well, because that's a fanon thing, and she's quite skinny in Danganronpa itself. So things did not look good for this project, and Horsecat, based that he is, decided that he wasn't going to settle for that. So he has basically taken on full ownership of Chiaki here, and is going to make sure that she gets across the finish line in one form or another. But not just that, but also addressing the concerns with her waistline, because he made what you can now see in game, which is the Chiaki Slim alt. So the default is still kind of pudgy, but there is an evergreen alt skin you can select to make her more canon sprite accurate. And so she looks thinner, and she still has all those awesome 3/4 and other cool custom drawn poses going on in this thin alt as well. So do you want to talk about what's going on with her?
Well, you've said a lot of it. Situations have led to me ended up being like the only member left of the Masquerade team that was supposed to bring her back up to standards for today. So I originally started only being the artist for that project, and I was going to limit my contributions to just the art. Then, of course, the first model comes out, and there's, as you mentioned, all this controversy and complaints and all of that. So the plans were already in motion by the time members started to go away. The plans were already there to make a slimmer costume. It just so happened that that by the time the costume was ready was around the time where Nicole also took her leave. So partially because I like Chiaki and partially because I just didn't want to see all my work go to waste is why I've ended up taking control of Chiaki. First releasing the skinny, alternate, but also changing her forfeit as well, where she now brings out a Usami gaming chair to do her thing instead of just sitting on the floor. Because I also remember back when we released this model update, I originally intended to just keep the spirit of the original version as much as I can, which meant keeping a lot of the posing from the original one, which led to a lot of people saying, no, she's moving too much, she wouldn't be this energetic, so she's going from kneeling to sitting to doing a bunch of stuff, which feels a bit weird. So instead of doing all that, I just gave her a chair where she can do her thing now, which I think is working better now. Also, a little bit unfortunate that before Nicole went out, she was doing a full cleanup of lines for Chiaki, removing all of the ones that she felt were out of character for her and that wouldn't fit her version of the character. The only problem is that when she left the character like that, which meant that she lost a lot of lines and ended up on the playtesting I did with her repeating a lot and having pretty much no lines for some cases. So
she got rid of the oldest lines, but she didn't replace them with new ones before she left. Is that what you mean?
No, she literally has just finished clearing out the old lines. So she was missing a lot of lines for a lot of cases, which I've been trying to at least fill in the gaps for now. I still don't. I still am in the process of replaying Danganronpa 2 and watching the series to get a better grasp of what the character is gonna be like. But for now, I'm pretty much just doing what I can to keep her alive for now before I start doing the proper dialogue reworks and everything.
She's cursed, man. She's cursed. We're gonna lose you too.
I hope not. I do hope I can get her to the finish line, and if someone else wants to take over her at that point, I'll be fine with that. But also, if no one shows up, I can still try to keep her in maintenance mode as well as I've been doing with my Equestria Girls characters. I am not letting her die for the third time.
Is that the plan to round out her dialogue and get her back on main?
Yes, currently my plans with her are finish filling up those gaps that were left behind, serve for sponsorship and see what happens, and if possible, try to remake that epilogue before getting here into main.
Ooh. Well, I know you can do it. But
which again was the epilogue remaking was another plan that was Nicole and I were already planning about it before the whole thing happened, but when things happened, I had to change my priorities. So,
Well, I'm sorry about that, but at least you're taking it in stride. Do you have anything else you want to share about how the project is going, or do we want to turn it over to Nord and he can talk about his thoughts on the Slim alt, which is the focus here?
well, not really. I've said what I've needed to say about her. The Slim, how do you call it? The Slim skin is mainly what it says. It's hair, but without the chav. It was, and in doing so, it was a relatively simple change. Just take the model that you had, but remove the extra ribbons that made her have that little extra belly. On the first stages, again, similar to with the Puyo characters, you will probably not see a single bit of difference. It's once you get down to the underwear stages where you start noticing. I gave her custom underwear for this one, but tried to keep it close to, how you call it, the normal Kisekai version, which is what the chubby version has.
I wrote that down. I wrote that she didn't see that different with clothes on. In her case, it's probably because she's got big fat boobs anyway.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I changed too much outside of just that. Maybe I changed the knees, but I'm not sure. And I'm pretty sure the custom collarbone was already there on the chubby version as well. But other than that, I don't think I did too much change on that skinny out. And for that reason, that was a relatively quick alt skin to prepare. With the exception, of course, having to redraw all of the custom poses.
But you're used to that by now.
I mean, that's an impressive effort. We appreciate the effort going into that, of course. But yeah, Nord, what did you think?
Yeah, I did just want to touch upon briefly that the controversy behind her looking as she did when the rework hit testing. A lot of that I vaguely recall being that one member of your team in particular was sort of spearheading the idea that she should be chubby as the default, and then it's kind of just dealing with the consequences of following through on that, right?
Yes, there was a push in there from that member, but I also have to take partially the blame because I went along with the plan. So
yeah, I mean, you were doing what you were there for, was doing the art for the masquerade, and you were letting the others decide the finer character details. I want to say just big shout outs to you for going ahead with all of these art changes and now trying to keep the project alive. I do think you already toned down the default as well, didn't you? Again, sorry, it's been months now. She used to look even heavier, and like her chest used to sag even more, so I remember you having to rework her default, chubbier one as well. And it being like a 50-50 split between people being like, chubby Chiaki is good and is what should be, versus the other half who were disappointed that it was her being heavier when, like, canonically she is sort of this level of endowed but skinny. So I think you've done a great job with it. In the best possible way, it matches quality-wise with her default look, which is what you want for this sort of costume. Did you have any plans to do event costumes? Like, was that in the cards for your masquerade team?
yes,
Or are you not planning that far ahead?
before the stuff started happening, we did plan to, at the very least, redo the Chiaki made skin. I don't remember what that skin is for, but we at least wanted to remake that one.
It was probably Valentine's.
As you mentioned, I
had to guess. Yeah, it was.
I think
Valentine's.
It is. I think it is.
Listen, some girls are just blessed, okay? They can eat all the shit they want, and it all goes to their tits and their ass.
It's almost as if she wasn't real.
Life isn't fair. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, she did die, so she's pretty unlucky in that way.
And she died twice. which is even more unlucky.
Uh,
But yeah, I did. I did end up doing that first model update, as you mentioned, where the boobs and the sagginess and everything was done, and a little bit the split was still there, which is why I proceeded to do the skinny version as an alternate skin instead of just replacing the entire model on the original, so that people can have choices, which now is happening as well with a newer character that we got.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up as well, is that we'll talk about her in a future episode, but the new character SPNatI has the opposite approach, where the default is the more... Actually, no, it is the exact same situation.
It is the same, yeah.
I'm stupid, please forgive me. No, it's the exact same situation where the chubbier one, that's like the more fan-on version, is the default, and then the skinny one is an always available alternative costume. So I think it's a good thing to keep that sort of thing in mind. For any amount of fan-on we have to bring into play with our characters, speaking broadly, like making stuff for this game, you do have to consider, like, if say, like, 75% or more of this character's fans would agree with what you're doing, then yeah, just go ahead and do it. But then if it's like a 50-50 split, you're either going to have to pick a side or you're going to have to compromise. I think you did a great job here in, like, making a character for, like, both possible, like, fans of Chiaki. You also, like, I have my notes here that this is you just flexing again. You're definitely taking what you've learned with your other characters, and like you've gone even further beyond here with Chiaki and some of these poses. Like, it is not necessary for her to be doing a one-handed key blast at us in her fierce. Can't say the flipping word. But it's great. It makes her a lot more expressive.
I did say that sometimes they weren't always fitting. They felt kind of over dramatic. Maybe she's played too many video games, but it did kind of seem like you were just flexing sometimes.
Yeah, I again, a lot of this has to do with the old writing. I have been, along with the, how you call it, the new lines I've been trying to do with to fill the gaps. I've been also going through the existing lines and changing some of the poses, because I do agree some of the times it just feels like the old thing was just trying to put the poses in some places. So I've kind of toned them down a little bit in some spots. Hopefully I can make them happen in places where it feels more fitting now.
Yeah.
But all of those poses are poses she does on Source. Originally, when the project started, Nicole had a full spreadsheet with all of the poses she has in the, how you call it, in the games.
The Source game.
And that was my test, to just redo all of those poses for SPNatI, and that's what I did.
Oh yeah, and them being game accurate is very impressive as well.
So aside from all of the masturbation and the stripping, all of the hair poses are just the poses that she does in the game.
Nord, did you have other comments?
I did. I want to say that any sort of chair forfeit is very difficult to do right, in no small part, because like the perspective we have to work with for any Kisake model is already really scuffed. Like it's not a great perspective to have to work with. It's like dead straight on facing the camera, and it's very difficult to do sitting down poses looking right in a way that doesn't hide everything. So I'm liking what you've like done to try and alleviate that with her, like, for her forfeit and finished poses, where like she does move her legs about, she does spread them a bit to give you a good view.
I remember on one of the previous,
and I just know that like I understand the pain of it.
I remember mentioning in one of the previous podcasts when I was here, I said something along the lines of, there's gonna be a point where we're gonna know what models were done when the leg sliders were a thing and when they were not. And this is one of these cases. I couldn't have done the chair posing as I did if it weren't for those leg sliders. So I'm really glad that we have those now.
It's I mean, that's impressive as well, and this is my cue to complain a bit about the chair forfeit. I do think it's an admirable effort. I just don't think it's quite there yet, especially with like her thighs in this one that I posed with her knees kind of straight out. Her thighs just don't seem foreshortened enough. They don't seem big enough. It's just little things like that kind of, they feel kind of like blocky, her legs, and a bit out of proportion. So I think they could use some tweaking. Let's see. On the whole, though, very good skin. I'll nitpick about this very excellent bending over pose as well, because it's good too. Except for her boobs. Her boobs should be hanging more. They should be pointing straight down. It's like the one time they should have been hanging.
That can be fixed.
I think everything else I pretty much threw out there already. I love her tighter waist now. You can call me not woke, okay? I just like it when my girls are thin. It's much more attractive, and it's much more, dare I say it, based on what? Based on the source material. And yeah, I like her a lot more now. Yeah, the forfeit was basically the thing I wanted to point out there. Thighs could be a little bit better. You could bring up her knees more often, so she's not just like stand sitting. I wrote she has a couple poses like that, and she could ramp up a little bit more towards the end than what she currently has. And I pointed out the button pop. I think that's in the default skin as well. But yeah, it's a nice moment.
Yeah, the bottom pop has been a thing since way back for the Yo model. Before the masquerade was a thing.
Very good character. I'm glad you're not leaving her to die. And I mean, a lot of her best attributes are now directly because of you. So I guess it makes sense that you'd lead the charge at the end here. If it were me, if I were king of SPNatI, I wish that her skinny alt was the default, but at least it's there for people who would prefer that. Good job. Okay, well, and now we're in the home stretch. I hope you appreciated that break from Puyo Puyo, because now we're diving in once again. Apparently there is another one of like the main cast, one of Arle's big friends, like Amitai, or however you say her name. How do you say her name?
Yeah, Amitai, which is another Puyo Puyo character that was the main. It was a blonde girl. This is not that girl.
Yeah, and you didn't make her. Instead, you made a girl who literally doesn't even have a name. It's apparently her sitcom shonen rival or shoujo rival, Puyo Puyo Witch, or just Witch, because she comes from a clan where you need to earn having a name. And she's a big cheater, and she's full of herself, and she makes love potions and luck potions, and she's got all sorts of shit going on. But yeah, why don't you take us in? This is once again a brand new testing roster character to end off an episode.
Yeah, well, it is indeed Witch. It is, as you mentioned, a character that does not even have a proper name. She started as on Source series. She started just as a generic type of opponent, kind of like the Hex Maniac, I guess, in the Pokemon games. But eventually she grew enough of a popularity to become her own character later on. She's still just a secondary character, not very important to any of the plots of any of the games. She almost got her own game once because of how popular she was, but she ended up getting that game spotlight stolen by Shesa instead. And she just ends up being like the tag-along companion for that game. And she is, as you mentioned, very egocentrical, very much a cheater, very self-centered, which is exactly the reason why I decided to make her. All of my characters before this have been very cheerful, very happy-go-lucky, and while it's fun to write that, it does get a little bit boring sometimes. I needed a change of pace on the writing. So making someone cocky, a little bit, mean, has been very refreshing for me, and I've quite enjoyed writing her so far. Also, contrary to the rest of my Puyo characters, she is actually quite sexually experienced. The way I wrote her, of course, on Source, nothing of that source happens, but here for SPNatI, she knows what she wants, and what she wants is coming right from the rear, as someone here will probably appreciate.
Yes, I did.
Spnanon is your target audience.
She has, I believe, 2 or 3 stages of very good AI, because she's quote-unquote cheating with a luck potion, which later on ends up backfiring, and she ends up just completely destroying the top of her dress, leaving her topless earlier than she wants. Which was my way to also get around the fact that Arle does not use brass at all, despite finding out later that there's actually evidence that they do exist in her original world. So I get to skip the bra and keep that without having to rework Arle that way. And of course, after that luck potion fails, it just goes in a big, hopefully gets in a big losing streak, because here I just goes straight into bad. I don't remember if bad or throw, but she basically, once you get her topless, you pretty much won already against her.
She even says as much. She's just like, yeah, I'm fucked. Like, I've lost and I'm gonna lose. She's quite defeatist.
Again, that sequence also let me have fun with the writing, because she basically has like the 3 stages, basically 3 ways she's going on. She's very cocky. She's very confident at the start when she knows she has the luck potion going on. Then when the whole thing fails, she's like, fuck, and she knows she's gonna lose, and she's resigned. She's apologetic, trying to make people not despise her as much, because she knows she's gonna lose. And then at the last, when the forfeit comes around, she brings out another potion, but this one is like a pheromone. How is it called? Aphrodisiac, to make her to get her more into the mood and get her hypersexual and all that.
There are other like what I'd call crash out characters who start out very hard to beat and then they lose their composure over the course of the game, and I've advised against that with like Carmine and Faye Valentine and stuff, because then like you spend a comparatively small amount of time nude because they lose so fast. But one, she was funny and different from a lot of them because she's so resigned to it immediately. It's just like, yeah, I'm fucked. Like, whereas the rest of them are kind of like spend a few stages corn cobbing and acting like everything's going to be okay. Yeah, even as they fall apart. And also, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but you really go balls out with the forfeit and a lot of the crazy posing that she does there. So that kind of makes up for the quick nude stage. But yeah, I mean, Nord, what did you think of her?
I thought she was fantastic and enjoyed her essentially her very strong start, but then the moment she makes one mistake, she has a downward spiral until she's ultimately defeated. Her art was very impressive. I did wonder, like, what was she actually trying to do when she was casting the spell on her dress? Like, what was she expecting to happen?
She was trying to make her look good. I don't know. She knows.
And then it just exploded the whole half the thing. A very fun idea. I deliberately played her without any other Puyo Puyo characters at the table. It was interesting seeing her without them to bounce off of. She didn't really talk to anyone else as a result. Like she did seem very self-centered, which I think is quite fitting. In terms of her posing, you did a really good job for the most part. I'm just going to say that like the only thing that I think doesn't really work for me is her finishing pose. And that's just because, I get what you're going for with how over the top it is, but the way her legs are like hanging like that, it just feels like she's like I don't really know how she's managing to like lift her entire lower half up like that without having something beneath her or something to leverage onto. Or it could just be magic, I don't know.
Hmm. Well, I
can't even
really
really
know if I want to touch that.
No, you don't have to. I'm just saying that's how I thought about it. And I can't really show it off because it's in parts, because it is an animated, like, finishing pose. Trying to think, I wrote a brief note here about the potion she took, and I was trying to think of how to word this, but, like, I feel it, I don't know if this is reflected in any of her dialogue, and I just maybe missed it, but it feels like the potion didn't... Is the potion the whole reason she goes like into that sort of like posing state in her heavy and finishing, or is that just how she is normally?
Yeah, the aphrodisiac is supposed to be the one sending her into the crazy, sexually charged movements and talking and state of mind and all that.
Yeah, it does feel like she kind of goes from relatively calm to just like immediately like up to 11 like that.
Which is supposed to be the idea of the aphrodisiac. I guess maybe I should probably write something more about that, but I thought I did explain it on the first couple of...
I think you could add like a couple like global lines in there, like a couple like using like ticks and stage. You could take a look at like Jura and Barnett as an example of like how they do that, where you can kind of like you can see how it's taking more of an effect on her.
Yeah, I did notice she had a lot of targets towards, I assume, the tandem tag, because I did play test her with Zeke and Pandoria. She had lines that were pretty good, but I imagine that like if she was much later into her forfeit stage, it might be worth having her like go even more over the top. Like basically, if you took the existing, like if she targets tags. Especially when she's forfeiting, you can have her go up to 11 with like how much of a horn dog she is when she's building up to the end. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, funny thing with the tandem tags is I originally had a specific idea that I have on the back burner right now. I don't know if I'm going to implement it or not, but it could be fun, and it would give me an excuse to make another Puyo model. But that one's still in the back burner, so...
Interesting. I'll keep an eye out for it. Overall, though, Witch is already like really good. I enjoyed her quite a bit. Yeah. It's hard to articulate it. Yeah.
Well, then I guess I'll take us home here. Early on with her art, when she still has the broom kind of gets in the way a lot. Which I guess is fine, especially when she's like clothed. It's not such a big deal. I do think if she's going to hold the broom all the time, you're more than capable of making a hand where she's actually gripping it. So I suggest you do that because that distracted me. She just has like a default hand.
I believe she has the custom hand for a lot of the ones where she's grabbing it. I know that there's a lot of poses where I did use the default hands, but I do think she has a lot where she's also just grabbing it.
Well, I demand more. I am not satisfied. But yeah, she's appropriately cartoony to match Arle and Ringo. And she has the appropriately bold outlines and really pastel colors and cell shading and all that. So very nice job on the style. She has an entertaining and unique strip sequence, which we've kind of gone over already. And she looks a bit different from Arle and Ringo as well. Like in some ways she's similar, and you can kind of see the recent improvements that they had reflected in her. She also has like a broader naked chest, not in a bad way, just to look different from them, which I appreciated. Maybe it's just because her boobs are even smaller.
Yeah, and again, that was another one of the points that that was asked by the community when I showed the model originally. So.
Now, call me crazy, but is she bone dry for at least part of this forfeit that she has? The heavy poses, she's got stuff.
Be. She might be, but it may not be on purpose because
Yeah, she looks a little bone
a
dry.
lot of the posing. Yeah, like for example, in that one, I'm not sure if I'm using the default Kisekai types or if I ended up drawing those manually. If I ended up drawing those manually, then of course I cannot have the sweat over there because I'd have to draw that manually. I probably should look into that if I end up touching that in the future.
I just have little juice and droplet assets for Photoshop.
Yeah, it would be great to see details like that, especially for a pose as provocative as that one.
And obviously, I do need to point out the very specific peak butt spread, which was actually one of my main inspirations for going back, like I talked about last episode, and redoing the butt spread detailing on Maya and Jura, because I was looking at this like I really got to step my game up. This looks so much better. I don't think I've quite matched it, but at least it's comparable, hopefully. But yeah, this is really solid. Even though she's still bone dry in this, you got to add some fluid here as well. I've got that on her at least. Little known side effect of the love potion. It's a monkey's paw. It dries her up, even if she gets hornier. Writing though, kind of like how she's a little different from Arle and Ringo. I appreciated how in personality she was quite different. You know, she's still really like energetic and peppy, but you know, much more mean-spirited and smug. She had a lot of filters to people who were confident or just like personality tags in general. So she had a lot of fun stuff to say to them. Her self-confidence was very funny. She's even kind of confident when she's not confident because of how real she is about her state and situation and her attitude and how she knows she's going to lose. So that was fun. I liked her potion selling, how she was trying to hawk stuff to people over the course of the game, although it had an unfortunate confluence where I don't think this was on purpose, but she tried to sell hand dexterity potions to Rin.
Oh no.
There's no generic that applies to everybody now, is there?
I have myself had to put exceptions in just for in the past.
Yeah.
Oh,
if you want to add more italics and interjections for when the aphrodisiac really starts to take effect, I think that would help. And as I said before, just some more intermediate poses. Overall, this is very nice. I mean, I think she is what I would call a more generics-focused character. She has the shtick that she does, the main sequence that she kind of goes through, and she has less to talk about in like in-depth targets with other people. But that's okay. Not everyone has to have like a super rich catalog of targets. Some people can just kind of do their own thing and be fun in that way.
Yeah, I mean that can still happen. My main focus while getting her on testing and all that was to just make sure that the generics and the filters were strong, so that then I could focus on the targets and all that.
I'm just saying.
I do want the targets to happen.
She doesn't even have a name. Now that's fine. I do think you should probably have her establish why she doesn't have a name.
Well, I do think I mentioned it at some point. I don't think
I don't think I saw it in my game.
In the proper lore, that game where she was supposed to be like the main protagonist, but she ended up getting sidelined by Sheso, it was supposed to be her final trial to get her name and all that. And the reason she doesn't end up getting her name is because she pretty much uses Sheso to cheat the entire trial. So that's the reason why she doesn't get her name at that point.
Right. I mean, that's fine. I just think there should be a couple more lines early on where she establishes that. So make sure you get it across. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. Very nice character. As I've said before, this Horsecat guy, he just shits out gold. I mean, enough gold to have a whole episode about him, and also a little bit of the previous episode. Do either of you have any final comments about any of these 4 projects?
Well, I'm just glad that people seem to be enjoying my works. They have definitely been very busy couple of months, especially making the models and the updates and all that. But I hope I can I can get both of my current projects, both the Witch and Chiaki, through the finish line before my life starts getting busy again. And I'm very glad that people have enjoyed it.
Are you particularly looking for help when it comes to, say, Chiaki? Like, are you hoping someone would take over?
I wouldn't mind having some other help with Chiaki in specific, because while I do like Danganronpa and I do remember the bigger broad strokes of things, I'm not as deep in the knowledge as someone like, for example, Nicole would have been. So I could take the extra help. Then again, I kinda want to. I don't know how bad it is to have multiple people now, with considering the experience I've gotten with her in the past as well. Also, a lot of my mentality always is you wanna see something happen, just do it yourself. So I do want Chiaki to get to the finish line. So I'm probably just gonna have to push her myself there to make sure it happens.
This is why Superman works alone. Topical.
No, he doesn't. That's the worst. That's the worst superhero you could have picked for that joke.
Well, Nord, thanks for coming on despite you contradicting me, which I have not allowed in the past. That's a rule. You can't do that. Thanks for coming on as well, Horsecat, and to cover your many different projects over these past 2 episodes. You had a lot to discuss, and I'm glad we gave you the chance to do it, and that you were available. We'll let you get right back to your busy schedule after this. Yeah, I wanna thank you both.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always nice to be here.
Okay, well, that's going to do it for episode 117 of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Once again, sorry about Eminem, but I guess that just makes Horsecat the real Slim Shady.